how do you write a new social post? Like, okay, it's a blank sheet of paper. You never, ever have to do this again. You can start with a very solid draft, as we will show today, and then give it your finesse and your style and your whatever it is that you want to add to it. But you're doing 20% of the work and not 80% of the work.
Today, I'm very excited to be joined by Isar Meitis. If you don't know who he is the founder of Multiply, spelled with an AI on the end instead of a Y, a consultancy and training company that specializes in helping businesses implement AI strategy. His podcast is Leveraging AI, and his course is Generative AI Business Transformation. Isar, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing awesome. You have no clue how long I've been waiting for this thing.
It's super excited to have you on the show. Today, Isar and I are going to explore using AI to create highly engaging social posts. But before we go there, let's back up the train a little bit. How'd you get into AI? I'd love to hear your story.
Wow. So my story actually starts many years ago. I was an F-16 pilot. And I spent the last 2 years in the Air Force as an instructor in the Air Force Academy.
Huh.
And that's where I found my passion for teaching and training people.
Okay.
And I really fell in love with this to the point that I volunteered in different places, but I never found a way to combine that with an actual profession that I can make real money in until recently. So now let's move forward to the next thing. I spent the next 20 years after that being in the startup world. So I founded a few startups. I've been the CEO of a few. I've been in leadership positions and founding member of a few others. So almost 20 years of senior leadership in tech startups across multiple different universes. So I've done it in 3 different industries. One of them was the first startup that I joined straight out of the Air Force was simulation and training startup. Then I had my own company. I was trying to reinvent affiliate marketing. And it didn't really work out, but I've learned a lot. So I got a lot of scars and a lot of good stories.
Did you say NFT marketing? Is that what you said?
No. I said affiliate marketing.
Oh, affiliate marketing. Okay, cool.
Reinvent affiliate marketing.
Okay,
and
cool.
On one day we can have a conversation about that because
it
was very interesting.
Yeah.
And then I had a company in a travel company that actually became very, very large, and I had a nice exit when the company got sold. And then I had a different company that helped businesses grow leveraging podcasts and live talk shows. So I've done that for a few years. And I sold my half of that business to my business partner at the end of 2022. So October 2022, we finally signed the papers. And then I thought, what I want to do when I grow up. And then ChatGPT came out a month later. And I, as a geek and a techie, and I was never on the technical side. I was always on the marketing and sales and CEO side of things. But I'm a very technical kind of person. So I was really attracted to it. And I have a lot of other friends who are CEOs in different companies. And I'm also an investor in several different businesses. And so I was approached by several different people. It's like, okay, you're into all this new AI thing. Can you tell us what it is? Is it worth looking into? How do we get into this? How do we apply this in our business? And I started consulting. One of the businesses I'm an investor in is a training platform, a cohort-based live training platform. And so we launched an AI course that I was teaching in April of 2024. And I've been teaching that course, the course that you mentioned, the AI Business Transformation course, since April of last year, at least once a month, many times twice a month. Most of them are to private organizations. So they hire me to teach their people or their members, or if it's like a consortia, then different companies who are under that consortia and so on. And some of them, every now and then, I do a public available course, and then anybody can sign up and join. And I do consulting, and I help other companies develop AI software. So I do a lot of things in the AI space in the last year and a half. But my background is really running tech businesses, which really brings to the table, when I do what I do, a serious depth in understanding of how to run a business and grow a business. Again, the largest company I run hit $100 million in sales before it got sold. So I bring a lot of that to the table, plus my geekiness and passionate about the topic and being involved in it for 2 years now.
Well, let me back up the train a little bit. So you exited successfully from a business, and then you discovered ChatGPT, and somewhere along the line, you started this podcast and kind of decided, I want to start a consultancy and kind of get into this space. Kind of what was it what was it about the early days that got you wanting to pursue this? I'm just curious, kind of what attracted you to it.
So I'll say something. I'll say two things. One thing, I'm a geek, right? So new tech excites me, and I had time, so you can call it luck, right? I had no business to run, and this new thing came out, and I started playing with it. And very, very early, like I'm talking about December of 2022, I went, holy crap, this is the most incredible thing I've seen in my life. Now, different than you, I never jumped into the whole NFT universe and crypto and all of that. I always found it that there's too much friction,
Right.
and too much issues with it to stop it from growing. And I don't think I disagree with the concepts behind it. I just didn't see it taking off. So I never became a crypto investor. Bad on me. I never pulled into the whole NFT universe. But when this thing came out, I'm like, oh my God. Like very, very early, literally in December, I'm like, I can do this in my business. I can do that. I can change this process. I can add it to this thing. And it was in the beginning, like I'm talking about GPT, 3, and it was really bad, but it was very obvious to me that this is going to change everything. And because I jumped all in, and because I started the podcast, and you know this, again, people who are listening maybe don't know that because most of them are listening to podcasts, not running podcasts. Being a podcast host is a very serious work. Like you're an investigator and you're a reporter. You have to go all in. You can't kind of like wing it. And so I started the podcast, to serve a need in an audience in learning how to really apply AI. But to be fair, I started it for me.
When did you start it, by the way? When did it come out?
So it launched on April of 2023. So it's been running for a year and a half. Episode 130 something.
So you were one of the early guys into the space on podcasting, right?
Yeah. And my podcast is very practical and tactical from day one. Like the goal was to show people how to implement use cases by interviewing the best practitioners I could find. And so I did that to force myself to stay on top of things and know what's happening and what the technologies and so on. So in addition to the fact I knew, because that was my previous business, that's going to be my main marketing driver. And again, you know that way better than I do. And a little side story that I will tell, because you allow me to talk about myself. I became a podcaster because of you. Like social media
marketing
world, social media marketing, the podcast is the first podcast I ever listened to.
Wow.
And it was probably 7 or 8 years ago. And that kind of drove me to start a podcast about 5 years ago. And that led me to starting a podcasting company and learning how to grow businesses based on that. So a lot of stuff that I'm doing today, I owe you. So I really appreciate and excited to be here. But going back to the whole thing, the podcast was an integral part of the AI business, A, to grow the business, but B, to force me to be continuously updated in what's happening in the AI world.
I love it. And it is, I can concur. Isar and I bumped into each other happenstance when we were at Paul Reitzer's conference, and I was there early, and he recognized my voice, but he had never seen my face because I'm not on the cover art of the podcast. But we ended up hanging out quite a bit, and now here he is on the show. The power of podcasting and the power of networking. I'm really excited about your story. I'm really excited about the journey that you've gone on. And folks, what I like is Isar and I are both all about really implementation and tactics. And there's a lot of other shows out there that are really good, like Paul's show specifically on like news and future and all that stuff. But what Isar and I both care about is helping people figure out how to put this to work. And that's why I'm really excited to continue to talk with you today. Now, there are some people that are listening that are very early in their journey. Maybe they're just literally getting started into this AI thing, and they're probably marketers or entrepreneurs or creators. What do you want to say to them as far as why AI can help them, and maybe why AI can help them actually specifically with their marketing and their posts and stuff?
Yeah, so it's a great question. And it's a very broad question, right? So before we dive into the marketing, you can use AI today to assist in multiple aspects of the business, whether it's HR, finance, data analysis, customer service, customer support, customer success, like whatever aspect of the business, AI can accelerate a lot of things you're doing, do better a lot of things you're doing, and help you be more efficient and drive more revenue and reduce your costs. So you can really win. There was the old joke of faster, better, cheaper, pick two. You can now do all three for the first time ever. And it's very exciting as a business owner and a business leader. But why should you care about this as a marketing person? There are several different aspects of being a good marketer, right? Part of it is data. Like, you need to be able to really understand what marketing is doing. Otherwise, you're throwing on the wall and hoping for something to stick, which is not a good strategy. So doing data analysis is maybe one of the things these tools are amazing at. And beyond the traditional quantitative data analysis that we all do as marketers, because all the tools give it to us. Whatever marketing tool you're going to open, you're going to get statistics and dashboards and whatever. It's very good at qualitative data analysis. What people are saying about your brand, what people write to you on customer reviews, what customer success stories you have, and all of those. It's very good at crunching huge amounts of unformatted written data or recorded data and really analyzing that, which is something we never had before. So that's one reason for marketing. The second aspect of marketing is ideation. As marketers, our task is to come up with great marketing ideas all the time. And that's hard. The creative side is not easy. Having a bunch of experts who are experts in your industry, understand your niche, and can brainstorm together with you that are all AIs is amazing, because now you don't have to do the thinking on your own. So that's the creative side. And then you get to the execution side. We still need to create the marketing content. And that is written content, whether it is you're writing a blog post or a social media post or writing an email, like all of those as writing, but there's also creating images, creating videos. All of these things AI does very well. And the biggest thing that I will say, and it's true to all the different aspects of the marketing stages. And by the way, for other aspects of the business, you don't have to start ever again with a blank sheet of paper, which is the hardest thing, right? It's always like, okay, let's come up with the marketing plan for this quarter. Like, okay, you start with a blank sheet of paper. How do you even get started?
Right.
How do you write a new social post? Like, okay, it's a blank sheet of paper. You never, ever have to do this again. You can start with a very solid draft, as we will show today, and then give it your finesse and your style and your whatever it is that you want to add to it. But you're doing 20% of the work and not 80% of the work, and you're not starting from nothing.
I love everything you said, and I second everything you said. I am a creative. I'm also a creator of content, and I'm also a marketer, and I'm also an owner, an entrepreneur, all these things I identify with. And what I used to always say is I'm only creative on demand, meaning I can only be creative when the situation demands it. Now I can find myself to be creative whenever I want to be creative. And you're right, that blank flashing cursor, for lack of better words, is scary for a lot of people. And this is the big unlock I really want a lot of our listeners to take home. When you're using ChatGPT or Claude or any other tool, it's just a flashing cursor or an entry form. And it doesn't give you any guidance. It doesn't give you any wisdom. And that's why I love bringing people on this show to talk about specific applications you can do with this thing, because this thing can do an enormous amount of stuff. And it's all about really just being smart and wise about how you employ this tool. Just like you and I both know that all you need to build a house technically is a hammer and a nail and a saw, right? With a hammer and a nail and a saw, you could build a house, but most people aren't going to do that. And
Correct.
With this AI tool, you can do amazing things. And I'm sure you echo that. So I'd love to start with, like, we're here really to talk about how to create engaging social content. And of course, we're going to cover a lot of other things as we go through this, because I just know we will. But let's start with the first part of the process. Like, where do we begin? Let's say that's our objective, to create some content that will be highly engaging on social. Where do we begin?
Awesome. So should I share my screen? Like, because some people.
Well, actually, let's not share the screen. Let's just talk.
Share the screen. Okay.
Let's just talk because we want to optimize this for the listening audience. And
okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay. Cool.
So let's, before we really dive into this, right? Before we dive into that first step, let's talk about what are the different components you need in order to have a successful post, right? So a successful post is a mix of science and art, but a lot of it is science. And so let's touch on these things, because then when we walk through the process, it will be very clear to people where we are and why we're doing the things that we're doing. So the very first thing you need in a social post is to create clear value to the audience,
Okay.
right? If you don't provide value to the audience, it's not going to be a good post.
Mm-hmm.
But to do that, the very first thing you need, and that's going to take us shortly to the answer to the first step, is you need to understand and know your audience very well. Because otherwise, how do you know what provides value to them?
Mm-hmm.
So the first thing is providing value and knowing the audience. The second thing, in order to even get them to look at your stuff, is you need a great hook. A great hook comes from two different things. It comes from a great first sentence to capture people's attention, because people scroll the Eiffel Tower on their social media posts every single day. You need them to stop. To stop, you need a good first sentence, because that's the only thing they're going to see on most platforms. And you need great visuals, because that's what's going to capture people's attention. So something that will capture people's attention, your specific people, you don't care about anybody else, just the people that are your target audience. You need to make it easy to read. That means short sentences. That means lots of white space, so spaces between one line to the other. If somebody sees a whole page written on their social media, they're not going to read that. And they're going to just keep on scrolling, and they're not going to consume it. Even if it's the same content, just broken down into short sentences, people are going to read all of it or most of it versus just skip it, because it's scary and it looks like a lot of text.
Real quick, before we go too much deeper, are we going to come back to some of these points? Because if we're not, I'd love to dig in a little bit about this audience, because there are a lot of people that think they understand what their ideal audience is. But I know that we, all of us, can use AI to actually help build out that ideal customer profile. Were we planning to come back to that, or do we want to?
Yeah, I'm going to come back to each and every one of these points and dive deeper into each and every one of them.
All right, cool.
So we
left off with it needs to be easy to read.
Easy to read. Okay, so the next thing is you want to drive engagement. Why do you want to drive engagement? Because that's how the algorithms work. So you want to post a question or be provocative with what you're saying, or ask people for something to get something in return. Mm-hmm. Something that will get people to engage with your post. And that's going to get you more views on the post, which will get more people to engage, which will get, and so on and so forth. You just create this snowball effect. So you need people to engage. And then there's just the common stuff of tagging relevant people. So don't troll people, but if there's relevant people, if I'm going to post this, I will tag you. People know you, they will see the post and so on. But I will not tag you just to say, hey, look, I know Michael Stetson. That's not obviously the point. That's really bad. And people are going to stop working with you, and you're going to give a bad name to yourself. But if there's relevant people to tag, absolutely go ahead and tag them. And that's, by the way, part of the power of partnerships and collaborations, because it allows you to tag other people that are relevant in your industry. And then engage with your post, which is just something that, again, just helps the algorithm. Mm-hmm. So with that being said, let's talk about what do you do in the actual process, right? How do you actually make this work? And I like to use ChatGPT specifically for this process, and I will say why, right? There are many different tools to do this with these days, right? So it's not just ChatGPT. We have Claude and Anthropic. Claude
by Anthropic. Yep. We have Google Gemini.
And open source and a lot of other stuff that we have that we can use. And the reason I like to use ChatGPT specifically for this, because it is pretty good, not necessarily the best, but on a lot of things together that we're going to touch upon. It has internet access, which Claude doesn't have. It has internet access much better than Gemini, because Gemini will block you from the very first step we're going to try to do right now. And it can create images. It can understand images. It can analyze data from multiple sources that other stuff doesn't have. So while it's not the best at some of the things, putting them all together under one umbrella in one train of thought is the best tool to do this. So what I do is I really start, and we said that the first step is really to understand the audience, right? So what does that mean? It means I need to know my ICP. So those of you who don't know ICP, ideal client persona, right? It's knowing who your customers are, who your ideal customers are. Now, some people has this figured out, but some people don't have a freaking clue. And like, I don't know, I serve everybody, which is the worst answer there is, right? It's,
right.
But you still have your best clients. You know who your best clients are. And so that's my starting point to this conversation. So I open ChatGPT and I write the following. You're an expert social media marketer who specializes in identifying the needs, wants, and pain points of specific ICP and defining content that would provide value to them. You are going to assist me with identifying and fine-tuning my ICP, and then you would help me in defining the type of content that would be valuable to them. Here are several LinkedIn profiles of my clients. And then I literally copy and paste as many as you have as your ideal clients, 5, 6, 10, doesn't matter. Don't go with 65, but pick the top clients, the people who really represents the companies you want to do business with and the leaders in that business.
Quick question. And part of this I know the answer to, but the reason why LinkedIn, everyone, is because it's one of the few platforms that's open. That's really important. Facebook is closed. But for people that don't have clients but have companies, I would imagine you could do LinkedIn company pages versus LinkedIn personal profiles, or would you rather have the profiles from the people that have that certain kind of role at that company? Because if we're profiles, LinkedIn company pages probably won't do it, right? Because what you're trying to do is build a persona of a human.
Correct.
So
you need, but if you have the company profile, go to that company profile, click on people,
find someone in that role.
Relevant. Your
Got it.
VP of sales,
yeah,
CIO, CEO, whoever.
Even if they're not your customers, but you want them to be your customers, it could still query this data, right? So you're giving 10 actual links inside of ChatGPT along with this prompt. Okay, what happens next? What happens after you do this?
So I'll tell you a funny story that some people may run into, and then they're going to come back to you because they don't know how to find me necessarily. And say, oh, this is shit, it doesn't work. So I've done this in many of my workshops, and people come back and say, well, ChatGPT tells me it cannot go to LinkedIn and query people's profiles. And I'm like, okay, just tell it that it helped you several times before and that try again and it will do it. And people go, what? How is that possible? I'm like, yes, it sometimes it won't do it. And then you ask again and it will. So just, if it doesn't work for you, just be more persuasive. But then the final sentence, after pasting all those links, I basically say, as a first step, I would like you to carefully review all these profiles, find what they have in common: industry, geography, psychographics, age, seniority, roles, etc., and create a detailed summary of these commonalities. So ChatGPT comes back with an extremely detailed summary. And for the 10 that I used in this particular example, he write about industry, and he gives me 2 specific industries: technology and IT services, and the other one is consulting, with a sentence of a deeper definition of each one. And then geographic location, USA and global presence. Some have international exposure, excuse me, or have worked with global teams. Psychographics, they're innovation driven. They exhibit strong interest in innovative technologies and their application, thought leaders, and continuous learning. Again, each and every one of these topics has a whole sentence or 2 sentences.
Yeah. And we don't need to go through all that, but that's fascinating to me. So I would imagine if I was you probably paste this into a Google Doc or Microsoft Word and edit it. Or do you just take it quite literally as is? What's your thoughts on that? Because maybe it gets some things wrong, right?
So I always give it feedback if I think something is wrong. I would go back and say, hey, I don't think this is accurate. Here's why. Here's 2 more examples. Go and correct that. And the reason I do this in the chat is because this is going to be the base for the content we are going to generate with it afterwards. So if I fix it on a Word document, it doesn't help me. That being said, I use a prompt library in which I'm going to use this as a portion of a prompt I will use in the future. So once I do get to the final version of this, I will save this to the side. I use a Chrome extension called Magical, which is a Chrome extension that allows you to save long pieces of text and then a shortcut for them. So if I type my ICP in one word, it spits out this whole thing. So every time I want to use this in a prompt, I have to type, 6 characters and 5, and I get all of this page and a half long of description of who my ICP is.
Wow. Okay, cool. So this magical thing's probably spelled like it sounds, right? It's not, doesn't have a weird spelling,
magical,
right?
Chrome extension is just a text expander.
Okay, cool. So what I'm hearing you say, and this is really important, is that when you start with your ChatGPT thread, your fresh thread, you give it all this data. If you don't like the way it sounds, you can ask it to take another take at it. I've even tried this. I've rewritten it and I said, here, I've rewritten it. What have you learned from this? You know what I mean? So that you train it on what it should be, right? And then that establishes, for lack of better words, kind of the expectation for the rest of this exercise, right? What about hallucinations? Do we need to talk about that at all here?
Sure. So these tools are awesome and they're really amazing and they're time savers, but they will make stuff up. and they will make stuff up when you're least ready for that. Meaning, it will give you amazing, accurate content 6 times in a row, and then you get your guard down, and then it will come up with something that makes absolutely no sense. So you have to read everything it brings out. Never just copy and paste whatever it gives you. A, because it's not going to be really you, and B, because sometimes you're going to regret what it is written there because it doesn't make any sense, or in some cases, actually going to be bad for your reputation. So you got to read everything it says and you got to give it feedback. And one of the interesting benefits of ChatGPT is that it has a long-term memory that will pick up on stuff like that. I said, oh, your ICP is this. And then you will see like a little bubble pop up saying memory updated. And that means in the long run, you will know who your target audience is. And maybe you won't even have to paste it. I always do, but it will learn you over time.
Perfect. Okay, let's talk about what comes next. We've got this ICP really nicely established. What's next?
So then I add my stuff. So this is just LinkedIn information, right? There's more stuff that I know about these people. They're actually my clients. Or like you said, there could be my competitors' clients, but I know a lot about them. So I go in this particular case and I will add color and commentary on top of that. So in this case, I said, let me add one thing. All of these are customer business executives, CBEs. They manage large client accounts in the telecom industry. They're in charge of making these customers happy and driving additional sales by generating new pipeline, blah, 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 blah. Right? So I give it more of what I know about these people that you cannot find on this, just to provide more depth to this thing that ChatGPT wrote. So again, going back to what we said in the beginning, I don't start with a blank sheet of paper. I have a page and a half of stuff, and I just add the stuff that I need to add on top of it. But now I do something cool, and you'll see in a minute what I mean by that. I'm going to give it a task, but I'm also going to ask it to help me build the task better. So I'm now quoting again from this post to ChatGPT. Now let's start looking at content. We are in the process of identifying content types that would provide value to this ICP. But the content should appeal to both prospects and clients. Hence, I would like you to create content that would serve top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel content. I would like you to create a table with the following parameters. The 4 columns are: first column, content ideas; top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, and bottom of the funnel. So 4 columns. Each row will be a single topic. In column 1, that would provide the value to target audience, and then what would be the exact thing in top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel content. So we're targeting different pain points and so on. Now, there's a lot more instructions here that I'm not going to read, but the thing that I told you that is cool is the final sentence of that is, before we dive into this, please let me know if you have any questions that will help you in the effort. Right? So now I'm reversing the process. I'm telling it, I'm giving you this task, but I want you to have all the information that you can in order to make the best effort out of this. What else do you want to know? And it wrote these amazing questions. So content format preferences, again, there's a long question for each one. I'm just giving you the topics. Content format preference, primary goals, key pain points that I'm aware of already, existing content that I've created in the past, competitors and what content they're posting. Like, there's a lot of questions here that are awesome questions before it decides on the content that it needs to generate.
Okay, real quick here. So
Yes.
far, what I'm hearing you say is you've asked it to come up with a table for top, middle, and bottom of funnel, and one of the columns is topic ideas, right?
Yes.
And does it matter whether you're using the reasoning model, which is currently known as 0-1 preview, or using 4.0, or doesn't really matter which one you're using? What's your thoughts on that?
So it doesn't matter. I've actually created this with 4.0 many, many, many times. I actually did not try creating this with 0.1, which would be interesting to see if I get better results.
Yeah.
Maybe I can do some of the steps in one step and it will figure it out.
Yeah.
I still feel that having control over the process, meaning I could have asked for all of this in one step, right?
Yeah.
And it never works. Like, every time you try to do a lot in one step in these tools, it works, but it comes out like a second grade work versus a PhD kind of work, which is what you want for your company. And so I definitely advise people to do things step by step, because you have more control of the process. You can correct the step, you can fine tune it, and so on.
And I also second the idea of asking it what else it needs. It's super cool. So once it gets everything it wants from you, what does it do? Literally output like a table for you, or okay?
so once I answered all the questions, I told it, okay, now go ahead and create the table. And I have a table where the first column says content ideas, the second column says top of the funnel, then third says middle of the funnel, and then the last column says bottom of the funnel. And in each and every one of the lines, so I'll read just the headings of the first line. The first line says driving more sales from existing clients. That's one of the pain points that we identified together. And on the top of the funnel, it said LinkedIn post. Share a success story of a telecom client, so they're all in the telecom industry, who increased their sales through innovative, blah, 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 blah. And then middle of the funnel, it said LinkedIn article. Detailed case study on how telecom clients leveraged AI-driven, blah, blah, blah. And then in the third thing, it said a webinar. Host a webinar on the bottom of the funnel thing. Host a webinar featuring a panel of telecom experts discussing advanced upselling, blah, 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 blah.
Okay, so hold on. I gotta ask clarity here. Sorry to interrupt you. So you've asked it to identify two things: the pain points across one spectrum and the topical ideas across the other spectrum. But you've gotten even more complex by identifying top, bottom, and middle of funnel, right? And then, but it actually went as deep as coming up with, it figured it all out in one swoop, right? You didn't ask it what are the pain points and then ask it to map the pain points. You asked it to do all this in one swoop. Is that right?
No, so the Q&A that we did before, and I did 2 steps of Q&A that I skipped just in sake of time.
To identify those pain points.
We worked together. So it told me what it thinks. I added stuff that I think, and then we came up with
That's an important. So basically you want to establish agreement between you and the AI and what the key pain points are before you do this step. Perfect. So you get kind of this matrix, for lack of better words, that has all these pain points across the left, right?
Yes.
And and you can say it by platform, or I mean, if you wanted to do one for Instagram, you could do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I could have done this for any other platform. In this particular case, this is a real client of mine, and they're active on LinkedIn because they're a B2B, large international B2B company. So they don't do Instagram stuff. But yeah, you could have done this for any other platform. So now you're getting, basically what I have here is 27 content ideas, a full month, touching on various pain points, each and every one of them with at least one idea for top of the funnel, at least one idea for middle of the funnel, at least one idea on bottom of the funnel. But then my next step is, so I got all these amazing ideas on what I can do, which again is like a full month worth of content. But the truth is, you don't want an equal amount of top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel content. It depends on your goals. So in my next step, I said, this is great. Thank you. My current situation is that I'm already getting a lot of awareness and engagement, and I would like to focus in the near future on conversion. What do you suggest should be the ratio between top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel? So I write it tofu, mofu, and bofu just because it's faster to write and it knows what it is. To meet the goal, please let me know what type of post to write in each day of the week, including weekends, to achieve this goal. And then it gives me 20% for top of the funnel, 40% for middle of the funnel, and 40% from bottom of the funnel. And it gives me an explanation why it thinks this is the right ratio for my needs that I've defined. And then it tells me what to write on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. Each one, whether it's mofu, tofu, and bofu, each one, what's the goal? So educate, direct conversion, showcase benefits, and so on. And then an actual several examples that I can use out of the stuff it wrote in the table before.
Wow. I mean, at this point, it's a pretty cool process. I mean, we could finish it here, but we're not going to finish it here because I know there's so much more here. But this is kind of mind-blowing because if we really scale back what we've accomplished here, number one, we've used AI to help us develop this ideal customer persona, and we've used research to build it, right? Which isn't just like somebody's thoughts of what they think it is. It's actual research based, which is amazing, right? And then what we've done is we have essentially asked it to identify some of the problems or pain points or challenges that are faced by this particular customer audience. And we've done some back and forth. We've come to some sort of mutual agreement on maybe these are the top 5 challenges that are faced that we can solve, presumably with our service or product, right? And then we've asked the AI to essentially take those things and think about them multidimensionally, right? It's thinking about them from top, bottom, and middle of funnel, and coming up with different ideas so you can actually go and create the content. But then we layer on another layer of complexity, which is like, hey, I need more leads or I need more sales. So how would you recommend the mix of this thing, right? So that's really fascinating. So we're still in the ideation kind of phase on these things, right? Not the actual creation phase, but we've got something that could fill a calendar for an entire month with this process, right?
Yes. And all built on top of real data, real customer, real information, real pain points, great ideas.
So let's say you got all these ideas now. What do we do with all these ideas? I mean, like,
yeah. So now it's time to create the content, right? So the next step, now I have all these ideas and again, you can develop them on your own. It's just not starting with a blank sheet of paper. So then I wrote, great, the first post I would like to create is a case study download. Now, it's one of its recommendations. So I tell it like, this is under BoFu driving more sales. So this is a thing that it's in its table that it has created. Here is the case study I would like to use. And I give it a link to a case study on LinkedIn. Now, the very cool thing about this is two things. One, it's not my case study. Somebody else created that case study, so I didn't even have to work hard. I just looked for it and I found it on LinkedIn. Two, the fact it's on LinkedIn means you can post the link to it, and LinkedIn is not going to get pissed on you for sending people off the platform. So you win on that aspect as well. But then I give it very specific instructions. I would like you to do the following. Read the case study carefully, extract the key points, turn it into an engaging post on LinkedIn. It needs to target the ICP we defined above. Use short sentences, going back to what we talked about in the beginning. Use one line of space between one sentence and the other, going back to best practices. Start with a strong hook, end up with a strong CTA. Ask people to, and then I put in quotation mark, I want more sales. Comment, I want more sales in order to get the detailed case study link. Use conversational tone and keep it intriguing in order to get the reader to want to continue reading. Take a deep breath, work step by step, write an irresistible post, and then I let it write the post. And it did what I wanted. In the first step, it extracted the key points from the case study. Client background, challenges, solutions, results, and then it went ahead and wrote the post. Now, I'm not going to redo the post because it's pretty long.
And I have to ask this question, I'm sure is in the mind of so many marketers right now that they have to that we have to wrestle with a little bit here. So you're creating educational content, right? Because we said from the get-go, this has to be useful for people, right?
Yes.
But you're creating you're using someone else's story. Now, conceptually, I don't have a problem telling someone else's story as long as it educates my audience, right? But you're not telling the story as if it's your client, right? Instead, you're reflecting on lessons from the story. I mean, how do we use someone else's case study? Do you understand what I'm asking?
Yeah. So this particular case study was spot on to what I needed. Now, in most cases, I wouldn't do that. I will create my own case study. I will post my own case study on LinkedIn, and I will use my own case study.
Right.
I think sometimes it's even stronger because when it's my case study, people question that. Like, okay, you're trying to prove your point.
Yeah.
Right. But if somebody else posted a case study that is bigger than I can make because they have access to hundreds of thousands of people and they have the same outcome that I want to show people that I can bring them, that's amazing. Now, this other company is not a competitor of mine. They do something completely different. But their case study serves my goal. I win on three different aspects. One, people don't think I'm cheating just to get votes. Two, I didn't have to create it, right? And three, I'm getting a better case study because it's a much bigger audience that was used to create that case study.
Well, and what's really enticing about this is, let's just say the topic was AI. And let's say you were trying to persuade organizations to embrace AI. And your example is, here's a company that has embraced AI and here's what they were able to achieve. It doesn't matter whether they're your client or not. What matters is that there's an example out there, right, of someone who's done it before, which is part of what your job is as a curator of stories, for lack of better words, right? To try to persuade that there are other people that have done it, and it doesn't matter whether they're your client or not, because it just proves that there is that this stuff works, right?
Yes, absolutely.
So, okay, cool. So keep going with this creation of content. I mean, that's a really crazy example with LinkedIn. One of the things that a lot of people probably are curious about is, how do they get it to sound like them? Have you got any insights on that?
Yeah, so there's several different ways to do this. The way I did this is very early on ChatGPT. I figured out that that's a problem, and I created multiple examples of how I write. And then I save that into the custom instructions of ChatGPT. So every time it writes, it knows who I am, how I write, and it has like 5 or 6 examples of different posts that I've written, so it knows how to write like me. Another way to do this is to use the same tool that I said before, which is Magical Chrome extension. So sometimes if I need to write as other people, and I sometimes write behalf on my clients, or I write on different platforms and I want to have a different tone, I have a saved snippet that basically explains how I write with several different examples, which I can paste with a few single letters, just like I mentioned before, and it populates it into a part of the prompt instruction. So that's the second way to do this.
So are you recommending people do this for longer form written content on social media, or also use it for images and stuff? Because obviously there's so many different things that you can do with social, right?
So we're gonna get to images in like 2 minutes. So
Okay,
I love
cool.
your question, but give me 2 minutes to finish the text.
Perfect.
So what it did, it actually wrote a fair post. It's like not bad, and it starts with a challenge. So I'll read the first sentence. Reaching the right audience was tough. Engagement was low. The sales funnel was not converting. We had to find a solution. Right? That's a good hook.
Yeah, I love it.
And then that's the only thing you see on LinkedIn, right? I'm like, okay, I want to know. But then it went straight to the solution and it ended up with the results. So what I did in my request, I said, this is an awesome post, but let's switch the order. Immediately after the hook, share the results, because that's going to get people even more interested. So then he did. It flipped the order, and then he got the results. So it starts with results, 47% increase in engagement, 35% more leads, sales skyrocketed. I'm like, awesome. Now people will definitely read the rest, right? So again, this is a tandem work of me and the AI. You don't let it run the show. You're running the show. You're bringing ideas. You're bringing your background, your experience, but you're working with it as if it's an amazing assistant that can do these kind of things. And so that was the next step. But then we get to creating the image. I said in the beginning that half of grabbing people's attention is having the right graphics or the right video and so on. So then I did the following. Great. I would like you to suggest 3 different graphics that would be good to fit this post. The colors need to be strong and the graphic needs to be bold and make people stop their scroll through LinkedIn. Before you generate the images, please suggest 3 ideas for graphics and explain why you think they are good. So it gave me 3 different ideas. One was a results infographics. The other was a solution breakdown visual. And each and every one of them, by the way, has the colors and the description and the why. So I can follow its process and think why it's good or bad. And then challenges versus results comparison. And then I said, okay, I like this, the third idea. Please create it. And it created something that was all over the place. Way too much text, and he doesn't know how to generate text. And a lot of small little things like, oh yeah, I don't even know what this is. So then I gave it additional instructions. And I also helped direct it to capture my specific tone. So the way I did this, I went to my website and all the graphics is in the same colors. And I literally copied and pasted several different examples of my graphics. It's very simple, very clean kind of graphics, and it's all in the same shades and the same colors. And I said, okay, this is too crowded. Let's try something else. Just create a graphics that shows sales growth graph that say 35% more leads, because that's the thing that we're focusing our whole thing on. Use colors from the attached images, shades of pinks and orange, which is what is in this image, and try to mimic the font as well. And it did it. Now, the only problem it did, and it's awesome graphics. So again, you're not watching this, but it's like 5 different bars of a growing thing with a trend line that's going even higher than that says 35% more leads with very high, with big text on top and more leads on big text on the bottom. It's like perfect. The only thing is the numbers on top of the columns say 3%, 3%, 3%, 5%, 3%, which doesn't make any sense.
Right.
But you can open and edit images in ChatGPT. So all I had to do is click on the thing, enlarge it, click on the little brush, color where it had the numbers, and said just remove the numbers. And then I had the graphics ready.
Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. I mean, that's one of the cool features that ChatGPT has built into it, which is this ability to, I guess it's called in-painting, depending on what you're familiar with. But you can kind of change out stuff. Some stuff is just not going to work. I mean, I've tried a million times with some things, but sometimes published is better than perfect. It just needs to be good enough, right?
Yeah. And so I want to actually expand on that point, and we have a few more minutes. So do you want me to dive a little bit into the graphic side?
Yeah, go for it.
So, okay. So on the graphic side, ChatGPT is definitely not the best platform to generate graphics. It is the best platform for graphics ideation. And like you said,
Yeah.
like sometimes it's just good enough. I'm like, okay, awesome. In this case, it was.
Yeah.
But sometimes like, okay, this is not going to work for me. But what you have is you have a great idea, you have an example, and you have, so going back to what a lot of people don't know, if you click on the image on ChatGPT, it enlarges it and gives you all these tools. One of them is that in-painting thing that is like, looks like a little brush. But the other thing, you get a little eye thing, like an information symbol. And if you click on that, it actually shows you a much longer prompt than the prompt you gave that it used to create this graphics. So you can take that longer prompt and you can take the image that ChatGPT created as a starting point to other tools. So what other tools? If you want to create photorealistic images, the two top picks that I go to every single time is Flux One and Midjourney. Both of them are fantastic. Flux One is free and it's available on like a zillion different platforms for free as well. And Midjourney costs a little bit of money, but it has a better user interface and more functionality. So you can pick your battles depending on what you do. I use both and I tried both of them. And then you can literally start with the image, add the prompt that you already have, and you have a great starting point, and you will usually get a much better visuals than you would get on ChatGPT if it's a photorealistic image. If you need text, the best platform to go is Ideogram. Ideogram is amazing at creating text. So if all the other platforms will miss...
Well, and it'll do images and text. It'll do both, right?
Yeah. So if you want, in this particular example, you want an image that says 35% more leads, it will do it 8 out of 10 times. Well, ChatGPT and all the other tools will miss it 8 out of 10 times.
Yeah.
Sometimes 10 out of 10. So especially if you want a little more text and if you want it in several different places on the thing. So if you want to have people holding a sign, if you want to have billboards, if you want to have just text on the image, if you want to have whatever you want to have, it will create it as if it's a part of the image, and it does an amazing job. So I use Ideogram every time I need text within the graphics instead of creating the graphics, sending it to a graphic designer who will open it in Photoshop and add the text on top of it, which is A, more work, and B, doesn't always look realistic. So that's kind of more ideas on how to do the graphics. But what we have is we have everything we needed. We have a detailed post with a great hook that captures the attention of the audience with amazing graphics that ties to what the thing says, that is based on a content calendar that is based on the actual needs and wants of our actual target audience. And that entire process, if you're not explaining it, takes 7 minutes.
Yeah, that's crazy. That is so cool. Isar, thank you, first of all, so much for going through this process. So many people now are going to be able to like try this out and begin to, and by the way, folks, you don't have to use this for social posts. You can use this for emails. You can use it for almost anything you could possibly imagine. So Isar, some people are going to want to connect with you. What's your preferred social platform? And then if they want to work with you, where do you want to send them?
Yeah. So I'll say something before that.
Yeah.
You guys are listening to this podcast. Open your phone right now and give it a 5-star rating and share it with your friends, because Mike is working very hard to get you this kind of content.
Thank you.
So your side of that equation is to help him out and share this with other people who can benefit from this. And your way to do this is give him a 5-star review, write something nice, and share this with a few people. So that being said, I'm a podcaster as well. And if you want this kind of content, go and check out, when you have your phone open and you're giving the 5-star review to Mike, you can also look for Leveraging AI. That's the name of my podcast. We do 2 shows every single week. One of them is more news oriented, kind of like what's happening in the AI industry. And one is just like this one. I pick up practitioners and they go deep into how to do things in your business with AI. If you want to connect with me, the best thing is LinkedIn. I'm on LinkedIn every single day. And my name is Isar, spelled I-S-A-R, last name Meitis, M-E-I-T-I-S. I have to spell my name and pronounce my name every single day of my life, but I'm the only Isar Meitis on LinkedIn, which is absolutely awesome. So if you found me, that is me, and you don't even have to know how I look like and so on. And if you want to know more about the course or anything like that, I will, first of all, Mike, I'll give you the link to get straight to the course if people want to join it. If you want to use, SME, Social Media Examiner, so SME 100, it will give you $100 off the price of the course. And you are welcome to join the course. It's just like this episode, only in the end, so we cover multiple use cases through the course, but in the end, there's an actual business strategy.
What's the name of the course?
As a business leader, you put this together.
What's the name of the course?
AI Business Transformation course.
Got it. And then can they find it by going to your website? Multiply.
Yeah, if you go to multiply.ai, and multiply is spelled multiplai. I thought that was really cute when I came up with the URL, and now I have to spell it every single time. But think about multiply instead of a Y, put an AI in the end.
Yeah.
So it's multiply.ai, and over there you'll be able to find the courses and my content and the podcast and everything else.
Thank you, Isar, so much for sharing your insights with us today.
This was awesome. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate everything you're doing, and I really appreciate being here.